We're live, so we want to go ahead and get started. We have an exciting show tonight, and I could not wait to get to this point. This has been awesome. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and welcome everybody. So we want to welcome everyone that's out there on our platforms. So welcome Instagram Live, welcome Facebook Live.
Yes.
We're back here joining you guys this evening on this lovely Thursday. So we just want to say thanks for coming out and joining with us. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. We got a good show.
Yes, we do.
A lot of good stuff going on this week.
Oh, man. I'm excited.
Let me see. Where do I want to start? So first of all, let me just tell you my get down, my get up, my God. Get on in and feel this. I look like a stewardess with my white and my black on, but I want to recognize what the balloons are up here for is it's EMS week.
EMS.
So EMS, if anybody doesn't know, that's emergency medical services. That consists of anybody that you see on an ambulance truck that services if they've come to your home for an emergency, they're usually the first ones on the scene. They're also known as first responders. Very, very, very important role that they play. Not to leave out our paramedics. Those are most of the time who you see riding around on those fire engines and on those trucks that you see when they come out to an emergency situation. It's usually a team of a paramedic and an emergency medical service, also known as an EMS. We are celebrating them this week, and all week it has been celebrations and appreciations, and I encourage anybody that's on live as well as my crew here this evening that if you get an opportunity to see an EMS worker or a firefighter or a paramedic, please stop and tell them thank you, because
Absolutely.
They have all done a lot. And I represent at a company, AMR, American Medical Response, and so our big this week, I'm sharing our bid, and our bid was we had an open house.
Nice. How did it
today.
go?
The first one.
First one ever,
Oh, okay.
and it went really well.
Great.
We had a good turnout. We had a lot of people show up, and EMS is one of those jobs that you can't get into it for the money. Okay, that's not what you're doing it for. And I'm in HR, so I'm telling you. You do it because you're not going to get rich off of that. But what you will do is you will make an impact on your community as well as the world. Okay, and the people that show up every day have my utmost respect, because I know that they're not coming for money. I know they're coming for, some are coming for the adrenaline rush, but the others are coming because they want to make a difference. But we had a real good turnout. All week has been good. We've fed them well. We've done giveaways. We had iPods given away. We've had AirPods given away, but we did the iPad. I'm sorry, the iPad. We gave that away.
Nice.
We gave a bridle, a big old griddle. We gave cookers.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Actually, want to shout out and recognize Wawa gave $25 gift cards.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The Fun Spot handed out free they donated free passes. So all over the world, and I'm connected with.
Those are just places in Orlando to let you all know.
I was just getting ready to say places in Orlando, but also I'm connected to other states, because AMR is all over the United States.
Oh,
so I saw San Francisco was hooking their people up. Reno, AMR in Reno was hooking up their folks.
Reno.
So people are representing this week. So I just wanted to shout them out and recognize. And,
love it.
And again, it's EMS week all the way till Sunday. So if you run into somebody that is on a truck or in the hospital, if you happen to be out somewhere and about, just stop them and thank them. Tell them thank you for their services.
And since that goes with the theme that we have today, making an impact on others. So I'm just giving y'all a little nugget, because you'll see what we have coming up.
And the thread of all this month has been recognizing moms.
Yes.
So I met a lot of EMS mothers. Listen, we have some that are pregnant on the truck, some that have brought
that's
brought
risky.
their kids in,
Oh,
but
wow.
actually they able to management and they're managing and their partners watch out for them. They don't lift and do heavy
Yeah,
stuff, but
yeah.
they're committed to the job. They want to
Bless
make a
your
difference.
heart.
Yeah, yes.
Bless your
So,
heart. 'Cause
you know,
that's a
hey,
lot.
again, recognizing moms and
Yeah.
recognizing mothers this month, we
Yeah.
have seen a lot of tremendous things going on. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
my big.
That's your big today.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
well, wonderful. Next, we're going to go to our shout out of the day. So, who has our
Yes, Miss
shout out?
all dressed up
I
and
know.
looking like
Right.
Erica Badu and
If you
stuff.
see the look, we
Get
are.
into it.
Today I attended one of my best friends. She graduated high school today. So shout out to my girl India. She graduated high school today. It was great. It was so fun. If you can look, there's a picture, and yeah, she graduated high school today. So that's our shout out.
Whoop whoop. Go India.
Yes,
Congratulations.
She graduated from Boone High School.
Okay,
and where's
Boone
she
High School.
going?
Where's she going?
Oh,
next?
she's going. So she's doing. She's moving down to Tallahassee, I think, and she's going to FAMU.
FAMU.
Good job,
I see she
Florida
got all that
A&M.
pretty orange on.
Yes,
She's doing-
beautiful.
And her whole family
Her
is
whole
like
family,
alumni from
FAMU alumni, yeah.
Okay. We
Nice.
see you, Rattler.
They're all
We
FAMU,
see
yeah, they're
you,
all
Rattler.
FAMU alumni. So
Okay.
Very
That's my
nice.
girl.
Congratulations.
Well, good. Yes.
India.
India.
Congrats.
Hard work, good job. On to the next journey.
Yes, so great.
I'm feeling the vibe. You was looking at professional.
I know.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love that.
Good.
Okay, so next I am going to introduce, or are you introducing, or is it me?
Oh no, ma'am. Go for
Okay,
it.
so I am going to introduce our guest for today. And so I'm
Good.
super excited because Amber and I, we grew up with Fatai. And so
Yes, it's family.
Yes, this is family. This is our sister who is online. And so this is memories from home with us just coming all together. And so Fatai, as I was writing up just information about you to promote this episode, I was writing down all of your accomplishments, and not all of your accomplishments, but just a few. And my goodness, there's so much, and it just continues to, go on. Mm-hmm. It continues to grow. And so, I just want to give you all a little bit about who Fatai is. She's an author. And so if you see the book right in front of us, that is a book that she has authored. And it's definitely a great read. I encourage you to go out and, pick that up, and we will have a link in our description box so you can go directly and buy it. But it's Labor of Unconditional Love, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that. She's a mother, she's a foster parent, she's an entrepreneur,
Yes.
and the list goes on, but most importantly, she is a woman of God. And so I love Fatai. So y'all welcome Fatai on to our podcast today. And we just are going to get on this. So our episode today is about moms and unconditional love. So, as Amber mentioned, we're celebrating moms this month. And so there is so many moving parts to who you are, so many hats that you wear. And so we want to just touch on a few tonight because I know we don't have much time, but this is a week-long episode, to be honest with you, with what you have going on. But we are going to get to the meat of things. So you all, what is our first question for Fatai tonight?
Well, Fatai, why don't you go right in and just tell us sort of how you came about and sort of where you started at with this journey that you're on. Right. And that way, because to be honest, Elise, I know Sakari may be familiar, Elise probably not. So maybe you can give her a little bit of background and then we can go from there.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful for this opportunity just to be on the show. We love you guys all the way from Reno, Nevada. We love you guys and we're rooting you guys on. So keep it up. It's very rare we see moms, especially women of color with their daughters being able to impact in this way. But our journey in foster care, sheesh, I don't even know where to begin, with it, because there's so many different layers of how it's arrived us to where we're at. But if I would have to choose one of the reasons why we became a foster parent, it was because Ray and I wanted to adopt. We wanted to adopt. We had two boys at the time, 3 and 5, and we were hoping for a girl. And Ray was like, "No, we don't need to adopt. We can have our own kids," And I'm like, "No, we can try this out." So that's kind of how we arrived to that, and of course, making a decision on something like that where we only hear, and only know about what exists. So we just heard about it and we're like, oh, it's cool. It's advertised on TV, maybe this is something cool that we can do. So that's kind of like how we got started in it. But it was, as far as like the fostering, Ray didn't want to do adoption. So the one medium that we both agreed on was fostering to see if it was something that we would do. And as we know, this month is also the month of foster care awareness month, so this is definitely that month as well.
I failed to mention
And
that. That's huge.
Yes, thank you.
yeah, so, right now there are over 450,000 kids in the foster care system, and so some people that don't know what foster care is a temporary placement for kids to be at until we can either reunify kids back with their mom and dad, with their biological families, or we can figure out what other type of transition, for them. And so a lot of people are a part of the foster care system. It's not just the children. The foster parents are a part of it. The professionals are also a part of it. Social workers, therapists, anybody that is a part of that community of helping reunify families, those are people that are a part of the foster care system.
Wow.
Wow.
Very cool, very
Wow.
cool. And so from there, it just grew, right? Because
It did. And I think what we thought foster care was and what we thought the experience was going to be, it was not even that. I promise you it was not, and I'm so thankful that the training that we had was a lack of training, because it really forced us to tap into God and for him to show us, how to navigate some of these challenges. And I come from a very structured Polynesian background, a very structured Tongan background. There's 4 pillars that we operate on. And of course, when you deal with troubled youth, troubled kids that come from challenging backgrounds, broken homes, and they show up in a different way, it's like foreign, when kids are like back talking and, all these different challenges. And so just to put it out there so people are like, oh man, she's bad talking, foster kids. No, we foster at a therapeutic level. So we're kind of like the step right before, if the kids need a higher resource than what we can provide, then we're kind of like those go-to. So a lot of the kids that we that we have had the opportunity to care for are kids that come with no structure and no values.
okay. And do you find, Fatai, there's a stronger need there right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because if you think about the brokenness, when the kids show up that way, they were conditioned that way. And, when you think about their journey, their experience started at home from mom and dad. And if mom and dad never got it right, that's because their mom and dad never got it right. So then it just creates a generational, it's a generational thing. So our unconditional is being able to get through with them, but also putting boundaries in place to show them that there's value in the experience, that there's a lot of value for them as well. So yeah, here we are 9 years later. Ray and I, we started off as foster parents, and then it wasn't enough. We felt like there was something missing, and I was like, God, what is it that's missing? And he told us, start an agency. You guys need to start an agency. So 4 years ago, yesterday, it's such a trip because I'm so thankful to Facebook because it shows us some of those memories. Ray and I submitted our policies and procedures to our partnering agency, and we got on a plane and we took some self-care time to just enjoy. That was like our reward. And so 4 years ago yesterday is when we submitted that paperwork, and then here we go. We've been so blessed to impact over 100 youth within our Reno, Nevada community. So
that
Tremendous
is awesome.
impact. That is fantastic.
That
And,
is awesome.
I recall reading in the book about how your intentions are to keep families together. And I like that, you're intentional about wanting to keep the siblings together,
Yes.
because oftentimes you see them split up.
Always split up.
And, you just don't know how that impacts them, just
Yes.
their emotional stability and just mentally, where that feeling of loneliness. And so tell us a little bit about that, about, just the kids you've worked with and the families you've tried to keep together.
right. No, I'm glad you brought that up because I think there's so many stigmas out there about foster care, especially I think the biggest stigma out there about foster care is like, oh, you're just trying to collect a check. That's what you're doing. You're just, you know what I mean? And so I'm okay to address that because, because I put in my sweat equity in it and have seen the rewards as far as families coming together. I'm okay to speak on it. And it's crazy because one of my mentors slash colleagues, she was like, Fatai, we get paid because families are broken. That's the reason why we get paid. As far as my business, we are operating because of broken families. So if I know that's how I'm getting my paycheck, not as a foster parent, I know that I'm going to spend my time, energy, resource, and tools to try to reunify these families. So when a professional comes to me and tells me, oh, these 4 siblings have too much energy, there's no way anybody's going to want to adopt them. I'm like, thank you, but my boss has told me something else. I serve a greater boss. There's only one boss that I serve, so while you're giving me that professional perspective, I have another boss that says, yeah, there is a way. Because biblically, children are meant to be raised by their biological parents. So imagine, if this is where I'm at, I'm going to make sure to connect with parents to give them the right resources and tools. So there's kind of been a shift in language out there. And a huge shout out to Dr. Ishelle Williams. She's really trying to change up the game. Women of color out there trying to do it for us. We are referred to as resource families, as resource parents, because biological parents, they don't have the right resources to keep their kids in their home. So if we think about it, the resource is within the other families that have been given the skills, the resources to be able to do that. So it's hard. There's a lot of different kids, that come in, and the biggest blessing is, and I'll give you guys this little bit, and I talk about it in my book. There's 4 siblings. We start out with one kiddo. He came in, and imagine being just conditioned in an environment that can be perceived as neglect. Some homes, and this is one of the things that I've experienced, is that some professionals that are walking in, it's hard for them to distinguish, well, what is true poverty and what is neglect? You know what I mean? And so I was like, man, if you would have walked into some of these poly homes that I grew up in, some you probably thought it's neglect, but really we just trying to make it. We are just trying to make it. But, and those are the things that we've experienced a lot, and it's funny because when we grew up, sometimes we heard cousins that were like, yeah, I remember back when I was 6 years or 6, 7 years old, my mom said, I'll be back. I'm going to run to the store. I'll be right back. Just lock the door. Don't ever open the door. I'll be right back. 6, 7-year-olds staying at home for about a good 15 to 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So these are just some things that we're used to, but siblings said, and I know that you guys are part of a sibling. You know what I mean? And to be stripped away from the only family that you know, and then not to be really told about what's going to happen, and then not to have a visit with them. And you're like, what? I can't have a visit with my cousin or with my sister or with my aunt and uncle that I've known for such a long time. You know what I mean? And so we had this, and this has been our miracle story, because the siblings set, these 4 brothers, it was a set of twins and a younger brother and an older one. One of the twins came in with us, and then the social worker, bless her heart, she was so amazing. She allowed us to have control of the situation. She was like, Fatai, as long as you and Ray can do it, we're going to support whatever you want. So, long story short, within a 2-year span, each sibling was able to come in to be able to spend 8 months with us. All 4 of them spent 8 months with us so that they can be in a thriving environment, in an environment to where they can rekindle that relationship again as brothers, know each other, get to know each other all over again, so that when it's time for them to transition, the next family that's going to take them in are going to be able to understand the dynamics that, of what it is that they're working with. And here we are 2 years later. These boys are doing such a phenomenal job. They live in another state. They've sent us a newsletter just to let us know how these boys are doing. And it warms my heart, just to know that the assignment that God gave us, we've followed through with it. And now these boys, and that's what it's all about. When we can get kids either to be adopted together. Sometimes siblings don't get to stay in the same home in foster care because of just the challenges of the behavior and how much resource families can really put up with. So it's a lot of different things that we see. So yeah, that's the biggest reward, is when those siblings can be together.
Praise God.
Fatai, I tell you, this is
Yeah.
just amazing.
It is.
Because, it's something that we had talked about earlier, that you are doing generational change here.
Right.
Right.
A
Okay.
legacy.
You are
It's
doing
a
a legacy.
Yeah.
But what you're also doing is you're breaking that cycle,
Right. Right.
And I, from personal experience, have a situation where we have a family member that's living with us. And when we sat down and thought about where they could go or what they could do, the biggest thing that we kept saying, my husband and I, was, we need to stop the cycle. Let's break the cycle and turn it in a different direction. And you're a part of that in each one of these young lives. And so that is just impactful.
Amen.
That is
Amen.
amazing.
It is. And it takes a special person to be able to take on that task.
Right.
Yes.
Because, not anyone can do that and do it
Yeah.
with love. You truly treat these children as your own. And so I want you to, talk about that, because you have your own children that you are nurturing.
Yeah,
But at the
family.
same time, you've taken on, foster children, and you've taken them on as your own pretty much and nurtured them. And so, how did that play into your family? What did the kids think? How did that play in to, you just from the mom standpoint, the motherly standpoint,
Yeah.
Right. No, that's a really good question, because we get asked this a lot, and it's crazy that my mentor that I was referring to, Dr. Williams, how we met was actually because of it was a foster parent conference that we went to. And so her story was she was impacted by foster care as a young kid, and just some of the challenges that she went through. And in her research, she has really shown that when the decision can be made as a family to take in foster kids, the weight, that decision as a family is more impactful versus just mom and dad making that decision, because then it can cause, a lot of challenges within, where the biological kids are feeling neglected. They feel like, oh, all of your time and attention is going to the foster kids. So just in our situation, when Ray and I decided we wanted to do that, imagine B. Ray and Chuba at the age of 3 and 5. At the age of 3 and 5, and I remember this day so clearly because of the conversation that we had with them. We sat them down and explained to them that we're looking to bring in some kids to our home, kids that are having a tough time with their mom and dad. They just need a place to stay until things go good. And we just wanted to know if, what you guys think about it. What do you guys think about bringing in other kids? And, in his little innocent mind, B-Ray at the age of 3, he's just thinking, oh, more kids, fun, yay, let's do it.
Play date.
So it's honestly, for me, I was like, okay, this little 3-year-old don't know what's going on. Yes, Ray, he said, yes, let's go. But, to be able to get the yes, and for them to know that they were a part of that decision, it was key. It was so important, for them. And so just their experience, in this, their experience in it has been interesting, because some days were good, some days were bad. We've gotten to talk like, oh, you care more about them than you do us. Or, oh, mom, you know what? I was going to ask you a question, but I forgot because you spent so much time with so-and-so. So some of those things, it does come to play. And the transparent part of it is that, yeah, you're right. You're true, because because behaviorally their needs need to be addressed at this moment. Your behaviors are not that far-fetched that you're fine. I don't need to attend to you like that. And it's crazy because early, or actually sometime late last year, Chuba made a comment to me, and he was like, oh no, this was a question that was asked. Chuba had an opportunity to co-facilitate a training with me, and the question was asked to him, well, how do you deal with foster kids now? And he said, you know what, when we used to go to church every Saturdays, the foster kids would run to want to sit by my mom and dad. And at first I would be upset. I would be so mad because I want to sit with my mom and dad. But then I really thought about it, like, man, I have a mom and dad. I get to be with them. I get to have that relationship with them. I don't, I'm not worried about where my next meal is going to come from. I'm not worried about where I'm going to lay my head. So if this is the time during this church hour that they're going to feel a connection, or feel like, oh, I just need an adult figure, or just need to be around that love, I'm cool with it. You can have my seat at church. I'm not married to it. That's the new language. that they use now. But Chuba was like, it's a trip because where he's at now in his experience, and I told him, I was like, Chuba, you are such a professional in foster care because you've been doing this a lot longer, than you have been just an average kid. And then I tell Michael, our youngest, I was like, you are the real professional because you were born into this. So imagine he's 7 years old now. This is all he knows. He don't know no other lifestyle. You know what I mean? And then it's like, of course, we had those family members too. We had family members that were like, you guys are crazy. You guys need to be focusing on your own children. Like, why are you going to go try to take care of Sarah Lee's kids? They act up and stuff, but I'm just like, we don't get it. It's a community pandemic. We're dealing with COVID as the I'm like, this epidemic has been in existence since 1950 and probably even before that. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's a community thing. Our tax dollars are going here. And if we're not taking it seriously, this is how Satan destroys. If he can't get you in your marriages, he's going to get you through your kids. You know what I mean? And he's going to figure out every way possible to destroy. So according to James, he says that we are to help the widowed and the orphaned.
Speak a word.
That's right.
Speak a word.
Put that out. Period. So you mentioned that. How has it been with your marriage? Because that's a whole different entity. And thank you for your transparency. Feel free to share as you're comfortable. But, this is a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And as a marriage, we know we function as one.
Right.
So you got to be one with this whole process.
Yeah.
It can't be you over here and Ray over there, because this would never work,
No.
right? So share with us a little bit of that.
Okay, let me see
How
how much time you said we got.
Hold on,
Speak to us, girl.
I can go on and on about that. And I'll tell you, it was a challenge and a struggle. So when we decided to adopt, or when that whole conversation, it came up, we were freshly out of a problem with our marriage. And the reason why I'm labeling it as a problem, because we were so naive as far as how to handle it. When we said I do, it was me, Ray, and God. But somewhere along the journey, God came out of that equation, and so it was like we were deflecting what our problems were. And we thought that by helping other people's kids was going to help us. But little did we know, when we took in those first set of kids, we saw the brokenness of their parents, of their mom, just their mom alone. And being able to see that and that exposure that we had to it, I was like, okay, so I'm tripping over because you didn't defend me on something, but yet these kids can't go back home to their mom. Okay, there's something wrong with this picture. Is it my pride, or what is it that's getting in the way? So a lot of these different experiences that we were going through in our marriage, it was because of that. It's because I was so conditioned in one way being brought up. Ray was conditioned in, to his way. We were still trying to navigate, figure out, well, whose rules are the rules that we should abide by?
Who wrote the book?
Right.
I'm telling you, I'm like, who said your rules were the rules? I'm like, dude, I married you so I can get away from my rules. So can we figure out some kind of rules for just us? Like, our parents don't need to be a part of it. But I'll tell you this, praise God for our parents and their wisdom, and all the wisdom that they had to be able to help us, get through it. And like the place that we're at now, like I keep telling Ray, like, I don't know if we didn't go through that challenge, you know what I mean? I'm like, if we never went through those challenges and obstacles, look at the blessings that we would be missing out on, the connections, the networks that we're missing out on. And it's all people that have been delivered from brokenness, and so it's like, and it's a trip because, Ray, this is what I tell people, he grew up like in a more conservative kind of a church background. Mine's was a little bit more loose. My mom and dad was always about the community and the family, so we were like, we knew everybody because everybody knew my parents. But, and I think the part that really kept us grounded was because the love that individually we had for God. That was the only thing that kept us grounded. Because if we didn't have that, I don't know how far it would go. And it was crazy because we had one of our foster kids, her mom was like popping off at me. Like, she was using some fancy words I've never heard before. I'm like, huh. I was like, okay, like, that's what it is. And Ray was like legit upset. He was like, I'm ready to fight somebody. I don't care. She's a female either, but nobody talked to my wife like that. And I'm like, wow. right? But it's like, in all transparency, as that human side of us, it's okay that we can process it mentally and be able to say it audibly. You know what I mean? And it's like, to know that here we are, we're still in this space. It's the lack of understanding of a lot of these parents. And so one of the things that we absolutely love to do is coaching. We coach a lot of the biological parents, and we're very transparent with them. We don't share with them details of like the challenges our marriage went through, but we do share with them like how we were able to overcome it. And the number one thing of how we were able to overcome it was humility and patience, y'all.
Beautiful.
That's
It took a lot of
recipe
that.
for your
Yes.
marriage is humility
Amen.
and patience.
Yes.
Truly
yes.
is. It really is.
And you have to continue to cultivate that.
About that, so, but
Oh,
another
no,
time.
thank you. Thank you, because
Absolutely.
it's all full circle. So
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
And you have to continue to cultivate that, and we see you guys doing that, on
Yes.
Facebook. So I love seeing you guys constantly,
Keep it
putting that
fresh.
time,
Yeah.
keeping it fresh, putting that time into your marriage and that effort. So when you have to get away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very
Oh,
nice.
man.
So for time, coming full circle, girls, do y'all have questions?
I
while
know,
we're
we-
talking?
Honestly, no, she's answered
It's
everything. Like, I'll think of a
mesmerizing.
question and she'll go into it. I'm like, oh, question answered.
We figured you guys would really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Do
'Cause
you
I
guys have
really-
friends or know of anybody that
I was gonna say, in the beginning when you were talking about like the difference between adoption and fostering, I had no clue because
Right.
I have a friend who I used to go to school with back in middle school, and her mom is, now that I'm thinking, her mom was actually a foster mom, and I thought they had adopted this girl this whole time, and I'm like, well, she lives with you guys and she comes to school, like she's lived with them I think for years now, and I'm like, you guys adopted her, and she's like, no, we haven't adopted her, she just lives with us, and I was always confused about that, and now I understand because she did like see her mom all the time. She would see
Yeah.
her mom, but she lived with my friend, and I'm just like, something's not, I'm confused, something's not connecting.
Yeah.
But now I understand and I get it.
It's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something, Sakari?
Because I do want to get older. I do want to get to the foster system. I do want to adopt. I really
Okay.
see a lot of injustice in the foster care system. So it's
course.
something
Very
I do
true.
want to fix in America because it's so sad how these kids are being abused. They don't know what love is. And so I kind of want to share that with them too. Because I remember
Talk
with
to Auntie Fatai.
Fatai, I remember I went down to Reno and she foster care a little girl. She was around my age and we just connected, and then at the end of the day she was like, I never had a friend like you that were so loving to me. It kind of hit me so hard.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Fatai, you mentioned a young lady that you had in your home. Can you give us a quick story, a summary of that young lady and where she's at and how she's doing? Because I know you shared she was very impactful for you.
Right.
Yeah. So, gosh, there's been many of them, but one of them, she's been impacted by the system since she was 7 years old. 7 years old, and she's 17 now. You know what I mean? So just to think about all the different experiences, and even to a point in her life where she ran away. And at 13 years old, she was trying to figure life out on her own. So imagine trying to get a job, trying to figure all of that, paying bills, all these different things, just involved in so many different things, trying to find love. But here at home, I mean, she's such an amazing rapper. I always tell her she's an alpha. She's a leader. Naturally, she has that gift and ability, and it's like she's ready to pretty much age out of the system and then like try to figure out life. She found the Lord while in foster care system.
Wow.
And yeah, she found the Lord in the foster care system. And so now to see how the work that she has done within herself and just with her relationship with Christ, she's introduced God to her mom. And now it's like to see her mom. And I was just talking to her mom, earlier today, and just to see the growth in her mom as well, and to see how she's setting up boundaries for herself, and just knowing how to distinguish the difference as far as it's okay, like I can be your best friend as your mom, but my main job and duty is to be your caregiver as your mother, so that's going to come first before I can be your best friend. But just to see how far along that she's come, those are the rewards for us. We have other kiddos too that are transitioning out, but the sweat equity that you put in from, I'll give you this really funny example. Like one of our kids, they came home and they were like, oh man, the teacher's writing me and, they're just being unfair and everything that they're doing is just not right. They just don't like me. I was like, you need me to show up to school? I was like, I'll have Uncle Ray wear a tank top and show up there so that they know who they're dealing with. And they're like, no, maybe a phone call will do. I go, no, we're going to show up there and we're going to find out what's going on, because no kid of mine is going to be treated like this. So when the foster kids, they feel like, man, you got my back, for real, you were really going to do that? You know what I mean? So it's like, they want to feel like they're just a part of the family. And so when we can advocate in the ways, or at least make them feel in this moment or in this space, that I'm going to go to bat for you, so that's where it'll be at. And just, Sakari, to what you were saying earlier, in the state of Ohio, that's where we're really seeing that kids of color are being separated from their family because of lack of really understanding the difference from poverty and the difference from neglect. So the state of Ohio, the rates of African-American children, and just children in general, that's being separated from their biological families, and even being able to go to an aunt and uncle, they're slow. They're really slow as far as those kind of reunifications, And of course, the other thing that gets tagged onto, just for awareness, the more females in foster care are more impacted by sex trafficking than any other females. You know what I mean? So it's a sad world that we live in, and it's good awareness for us to know, because when you don't feel like unconditional love is given to you as a young woman in foster care, you're going to go find it from somewhere else.
Find it somewhere, yeah.
So I have a question, actually. You mentioned the young lady, she's going to be aging out of the system soon. Are there resources for kids out there who do age out of the system and may not have anywhere to go?
Great question.
Absolutely, there is. And so right now, we actually met with her team earlier. So when, with all kids, they have teams. They have teams like the parents, whoever they want to be a part of their success team, they come in and they weigh in and just give different resources. And so, of course, if they want to move out with a friend, we have independent workers that work with them to make sure that their budgeting is on point, that they have all of that stuff on point. So there's definitely budgeting workers that are there. All the resources and tools that's given. And see, this is a disclaimer I always tell all the foster kids that come to my home. I'm like, I don't ever want to hear that y'all are out there bad mouthing me, my family, or my agency, or the foster care system that I work with, and try to tell people that we didn't help you out, because we are giving you all the tools and resources. It's your stubbornness that's not wanting to listen. You know what I mean? And so a lot of the kids that come in, of course, most of the kids that we've been blessed to work with are kids of color. So when the approach comes in that way, it's familiar. Oh yeah, my mom and dad talk to me like that. Oh yeah, they serve it to me very transparently. You know what I mean? But it's like, we want them to feel and understand that we are here rooting you alongside. It's just really up to you to take on those resources and run with it.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
This is very powerful.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That's
my
awesome.
goodness.
Well, Nia, this
Yeah,
is Miss
welcome.
Fatai. Nia just came in. She is actually.
You look like your dad.
Yes, she does. She sure does. But Nia's just coming in from track practice, so we're talking about Fatai and Miss Fatai right now, working with her foster
Yeah, I saw
services.
on the thing.
You
I
did?
want to kind of be a part of this a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I like the subject.
No, that's fine. Well, do you have any questions or
Questions,
anything you want to direct? Or
No, I just I like the subject of
Oh, okay.
discussing it
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So, Fatai, in just sort of wrapping things up, if somebody, to Sakari's point, gets to the point where they want to step into this journey of being a foster home or a resource center, what would you say should be the start? Walk us through where you should start at, and maybe not just the resources, but the mental and the resources. So the emotional side as far as that. And then also, the practical side of really wanting to taking this to the next level.
Great question. Great question.
That's a really good question. And I feel like a lot of people don't think about that before they get started. One thing that is important for people to know, that it's definitely a calling. The lack of resource families that are available to kids. Again, 450,000 is the number, and it keeps increasing. I think the biggest thing is knowing what your skill set is. What is your gift? What is the value that you can add to these kids? You don't have to be a resource parent. You could be a mentor. Different people can do different things. Like, for example, we just opened up an emergency home, and a lot of the items there were donated, or they were given to us from the community. And we always tell people that maybe caring for a kid, that's not your skill set. But if your skill set is in giving, that's perfect. If your skill set is in texting, texting something positive, that, we can do that too. If your skill set is to call and check in on the caregiver and say, hey, how are you doing? You can do that. But if your skill set is really being able to be in community, be in relationship with the foster youth, you can start by contacting your local county or your local state, get in contact with the Human Services Agency, let them know that you have a heart or a desire to want to help the foster youth from ages at birth, right out of the hospital, 3 days out of the hospital. That's how young we foster, all the way up until 17. Some states, they have where they can foster up to the age of 21. And the biggest thing that we're learning right now is that kiddos, once they turn 18, the excitement is there for that transition, but they realize, oh, I need a little bit more practice. I need a little bit more practice. So the gap, at least here for the state of Nevada, is the ages of 18 to 21. How can we help them to continue to thrive with the resources and the tools that they have been given? So, and then there's another place that they can go if they would like to get more information. There's National Foster Parent Association. That's another place too, if people wanted to hear, you can go YouTube foster care. It's so crazy because for me, I YouTube because I just to see what other kiddos that have left the system, to see what they're saying now or to see where they're at, and so it's really interesting. There's a lot of good testimonials on there too, from families, even kids, to see where they're at.
That's really good. Thank you. That is awesome, and we'll put those in our chat and disperse that information as well, so that if anybody comes back and checks out this video, we'll be able to put those resources there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, Fatai.
Awesome. This is fantastic.
Fatai,
you are changing.
You got some diamonds in your crown.
Yes, you
sis.
do. Yes,
Diamonds
you do.
in your crown.
You
and Ray, the whole family.
The whole family.
Yes.
And you made it into a family affair,
That's
not
right.
just your own, immediate family, but those even surrounding family members as well, with your extended family. And
your
so
mom is embraced, your sisters,
tell you, cousins.
So I want to just go back to that, because you had said that at first, I'm sure you said family was kind of looking at you guys like, y'all tripping, right?
Yeah.
So where are they at
Where
now,
are they at
9
now?
years later?
Absolutely.
No, and this is where I know it's a God thing. I know for a fact it's a God thing because, some of the family members that were hesitant about that decision, because the way that I grew up, we're supposed to do everything together. You're not supposed to go and navigate things on your own. We are a family. We do things together. So of course, just being able to explore those waters and being able to expose our family to it. What we have seen is how they've been using their skill set to help out. So a lot of our family members, I would say a good 90% of Three Angels Care is my family.
Awesome.
So a lot of us, we're in it. And the thing that I love is that even our aunties and uncle got cleared too. They got cleared by the county in the event, Fatai, that you guys need help. I am here to serve. I'm like, who does that?
Mercy.
Family.
Yeah.
I do. The ones that spank me right are the ones that, are standing by me. But it's a trip, because we really see like the calling that has been placed on our heart. And I'm always telling my aunts and uncles, and even my mom, I'm like, you guys are the ones that taught us this. Our cousins that came because they were going through their challenges. Y'all let them come and stay with us. I mean, they were sleeping on our beds while I was sleeping on the floor. You know what I mean? Yeah, I had some feelings at the time, but it's like, I'm so grateful for that, because my parents, they taught us humility.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it's just like to see how my parents were able to navigate that. I mean, they have their own kids to care for. Now they're going to bring in their brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, their kids. I mean, some of them even came from as far as New Zealand, because their parents couldn't figure it out, And so this interesting thing, my dad, we had one of our cousins that came in, and he never told us that she was going through a challenge. That's really key, like trying not to just limit the information that you're sharing with your biological kids, so that there's no automatic perception or any judgment that can be passed on to the kid. So mom and dad never told us that this kid is coming to stay with us because they are having a little difficulty. So what happened was this kid decides, oh, I'm going to sneak out the house, you know? So of course she sneaks out right in front of us, the window. And then my dad is coming in, he's counting how many girls are in the room. He's like, we're missing one kid, you know? And I'm like, oh, well, that went, yeah, that's the window. She just left. And, you know, it was like in our innocence, he allowed us to just sit in our innocence and operate the way that he knows that we would report. You know what I mean? So it was just crazy because then my cousin was like, why'd you tell your dad? I'm like, oh, I wasn't supposed to. You didn't say I was, but well, now he knows. Now you know how our rules are. Don't be sneaking out of my house.
I'm saying, because he didn't play that.
That's
He did not play that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, the family, everybody, they embraced it, you know, and I think it's a good thing because it makes us value our family unit even more.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Adele Brown was watching. She wanted to. First of all, she just said this information tonight has been a blessing.
Yeah.
She said thank you, but she also made a really good point in making the statement that it truly takes a village.
It does.
And that's exactly what that was an example of. And I think we all have to say our families believe in that. You know, I know you've had family come in and stay.
Yeah.
We've had family come in and stay. I thought at one point my grandparents' house was a swinging door. It would be one cousin coming, then next time, my grandparents were raised like, nah, we're gonna bring them in here. We're gonna love on them and get them, and so I think it's a blessing to see that. And you're right. The more you let your kids see that and be transparent with them, they understand, okay, let me get in and help. So, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I was going to add that, it's no surprise that your uncles, or your uncles and aunts got qualified for that system because it just reminds me of the Tongan culture. And listen, I tell everybody, I'm half Tongan. Y'all may not know it, but that's just because we grew up, that's just family. And so I always say
we
that.
We were always just linked up.
Yes.
And it was cool because they treated us, they looked out for us, your dad. Everybody did.
I have never met a kinder,
family people.
Community. Never met anyone in that, just in that light. They're humble. Tongans are humble. I mean, Lord have mercy.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna go over there.
We are going.
Look, time of trouble. I already know where I'm going.
You know
I'm
what I'm saying?
To the Tongan Islands.
Because the Lord got a special light over there. But I'm just saying.
Maybe Kenny caught those hands. I don't know. Maybe Kenny.
Kenny really did.
Michael, Kenny, and Taste, they were getting into some stuff.
They were getting it. Yeah, they caught him many a time. They caught. Don't get us reminiscing. I'm telling you, Lord. Yeah, there's too many stories to tell. And I mean, your dad was so impactful. I mean, and I'll just say this is off subject, but my dad got a bus in his yard, and I don't know how he talked your dad into buying a big old school bus, but they got a big old school bus in his house, at his yard, and I'm like, Lord.
And he's had that for many years. I want to say 20 plus, right?
Yeah.
I said,
we
Lord,
see that school bus.
Your dad was just trying to help my poor father out, and I know he was like, why is this man buying a school bus?
The village, right? I mean, this is the village that we're talking about, and as you guys are talking, I'm reflecting back to even our Pathfinder days, like it was the resource that was given to us was Pathfinders. The resource that was given to us was AYS, all those different resources. And then the tools that we learned from it to see, where we're at right now. And those are the things like as young people, as they're coming in, I tell this to kids that are impacted by foster care, I was like, the reason why it's hard for them to come out of some of these behaviors, it's because it's conditional. They've learned it at home. But if they can learn a different kind of skill set, you know what I mean? If they can and practice it for so long, this is how they're going to end that generational curse. It stops at you. So our 17-year-old, we tell her, you are the chain breaker for your family, because look at where you're at now. You've just exposed your mom to Jesus Christ. And now you guys are in a place where you guys are having Bible studies together. You guys are going to be going to church, so it's just like, how does she continue on that journey? Because sometimes there's burnout. And this is huge in foster care. People tap out of foster care because we get tired, so if there's no self-care as a part of the plan, whether it's exercise or healthy eating or, travel every now and then, if there is no self-care part of that equation, you're not going to get too far at all. And my mentor, Dr. Eric Thomas, he's always saying like, we pour in so much to other people, but if we're not pouring to ourselves and we don't have people that are in your lane, but that's like really like killing it, those are the people that you want to chase, because obviously, you know, they've been able to overcome different hurdles. And so that's the thing that I'm always telling. We do support groups, you know, sometimes like Kina, you guys, you know, you guys got to bring her on just separate. I think people are just going to laugh from beginning to end, because she's always that comedy filter. But anytime Kina has an idea, you know, we're like, let's do it. And that has been the thing. Like, how can we be a support, although we are foster parents, but how can we be supportive to the foster parent community? You know what I mean? And that's just been the biggest thing. So being able to support each other, sharing the experiences. How did you overcome this? Well, how did you overcome that? You know, has just been the biggest thing. And you know, I just tell me when I'm talking too much.
No, that's okay. We're wrapping up anyway. Yeah.
My family right now is impacted. You know, we have a niece and a nephew that's in foster care. And I think like after 9 years of doing this, but to have your own blood, you know, and again, it's nothing bad, but we just see just some of the areas where the lack of resources from a professional perspective, you know, because they're not in there doing the work, the hands and feet, you know, of the hard labor of foster care. They don't really understand why it's important that these kids need to go back to a biological family member, you know. And so we took our biological kids out of state to go visit our niece and nephew. And when we came back, Chuba, our 13-year-old, his empathy for the current kids that we have in our home right now, he's like, Mom, what's the status of this kid? Mom, what's the status of him, you know, this other kid? Mom, you know, are they able to make connections with their family? What's taking so long? Who's the one, you know? So it creates more opportunity for questioning and conversation, you know. And he's like, well, what are you guys going to do about my cousins? You know, why are they still there? If we are cleared people as a resource family, why do they need to be out of state and not here with us, you know, while we can try to get them? Yeah, you know what I mean? So it hurts it hurts different, because like I think one of the beautiful things like within the Tongan network is that, or even with the Polynesian community, I see it with the Samoans as well. If I can't take care of Chuba, I'm calling Kina. You know, if Kina can't take care of Chuba, she's calling Lavenda. If Lavenda can't take care, we know for sure Ofa's gonna take care. You know what I mean? So it's like we're gonna figure it out as a family first. You know what I mean? Before we tap out to the other ones. And I think that's where the biggest challenges lies, and why we're seeing so many generations of kids in foster care is because those networks, they don't care for other families don't even care to want to come in and be a resource.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
And I
Well,
was like,
okay.
sorry, and I just want to add in, you don't know how many kids you're affecting later on in life. For example, the CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he was in the foster care system, and he said if it wasn't for his parents, he wouldn't be here today, his foster parents. And now he's a billionaire. So you don't know how many kids you are impacting that are going to be a billionaire,
Good job,
cure for
Ty. Good
cancer.
job.
Thank you, Sakari.
That's awesome. So Fatai,
That one caring adult, right?
yes,
Right.
Fatai,
That
listen,
one.
you have enriched our lives so
Yeah.
much today in
Yeah.
so many ways. Just the whole entire impact.
Yeah.
Before we get off this call, we need you to share your social handles,
Yes.
please.
Yeah.
Just so that we can stay intact, stay up. We want to keep up. We want to follow, and also just so that we can tap in every now and then and
Or
check on
any
how
ways
you're
we
doing.
can donate as well.
And also,
Absolutely.
Elise
She
is
wants
saying to
to
donate.
donate.
Because I may not be a foster parent, but I will definitely, I'm that giving person, okay? I will definitely give.
loves to give.
You said that's not your skill set.
My skill set is not with kids, but I will give. I totally will.
Oh, well, yeah, so please, real quick before we wrap up, give us your social handles, please.
Yes.
And also include Baby Ray in there too.
Yes. So Facebook, you know, we have it's Ray and Fatai Langi. We're on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. It's my husband's account, Chubbaful. But if you want to purchase the book, you can just go to www.laborofunconditionallove.com. You can get it there. But my phone number, listen, I give it to the world because that's the work number, so I don't care who calls. But you know, you can also text me there, anything. Like I want to be able to connect and reach out, you know, with you. So if anybody's interested, please do. My kids are starting up some amazing projects as well that deals with foster care. So, you know, we want to connect. Anybody that has questions about it, please reach out. 775-437-7067. Please, we definitely would love to connect. Thank you guys.
Put everything down below as well.
Yes, we will be putting everything down below.
Thank you.
Fatai, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you so
in tonight.
much. Yes.
Family, you had our back.
Yes.
You got us looking good out here. with
I'm
all this
telling
good
you.
information.
Can I just ask?
Go for it.
It's so informative. Like,
Yeah,
I learned
it
so
is.
much.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, very informative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go for it, sis.
Just real quick, 9 years later. So how many homes do you have now?
Now we are at a total of 9 homes. 9 homes. So we have family, you know, just regular foster family homes, and then we have 3 male group homes, and then an emergency home. So yeah, God is expanding this territory, y'all. Like, you know, kids definitely need to know what unconditional love is.
Yes.
Praise
yes.
God. Well,
Oh, my heart is full.
my heart is
My
definitely
heart is
full
full.
as well.
You have. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Fatai.
Yes.
We unfortunately have to wrap up our show,
Right.
but we just want to send all kind of love to you,
Yeah.
y'all. For the viewers that are out there, I'm seeing hearts and love and
Yes.
support coming through like crazy.
Yeah.
We
Everybody
definitely need
is.
a part 2 where I can.
Yes.
We're getting you back on.
Yes, we will have you
to.
back
Yeah, I
on,
would
Fatai.
love
We'll
to
be
for
bringing
sure.
you back on. So viewers,
Yeah.
when we let you know, we'll have you. We'll update you when we have her back on. But Fatai, send our love to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let the family know we love them.
Yeah.
And we will be seeing you soon. And you know, one of the things that we always say is to think big.
Pray big.
And do big.
And Fatai, you are definitely doing that.
big.
So
You going
keep
in.
doing it, girl. We love you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. You guys have an amazing rest of your week.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You as well.
Love you.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye bye, sis.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes,
We'll see you
thank
next
you all.
week.
Bye, viewers.
Goodbye.